everyone. Welcome to our event called 7 Minutes with Civil Society. Today, we will be together with 14 civil society organizations who participated in the Empowering CSOs Grant Program funded by the European Union. For 2 half days, we will be listening to the project journeys of organizations from Ankara, Bitlis, Diyarbakır, Hakkari, Istanbul, Izmir, and Kars, who all work in the field of combating discrimination. And we will be listening to them more carefully in detail. So now to give the opening speech, I would like to give the floor to Nebahat Akkoç, who has been supporting us since the beginning of this project and who has been working in the field of gender and women's rights in Turkey for long years. Distinguished employees of the Hrant Dink Foundation, very distinguished representatives of NGOs, dear guests, I would like to greet you all. This grant program carried out by the Hrant Dink Foundation, I had the chance to participate in it since the beginning as a member of the jury panel. And I also had the chance to closely monitor the projects carried out in the regions. And I also had the chance to support some of them. And now we are all together in the closing event of this project. This is a wonderful thing, especially thinking that we are going through a pandemic period. So thank you very much for your invitation. This has been a very meaningful process for me personally, because I was going through a period whereby for the last 2-3 years, I didn't have much work at Kamer. We have a very young and dynamic group. So I, as one of the most or more senior members, I became kind of disengaged, trying to support the CSOs in the regions rather than working at the center. And as you know, after 2016, with the state of emergency, many CSOs were closed down. And I believed that was a period whereby we had to support the CSOs, and we still need to support them anyway. So for the last 2.5 years, that's what I was doing. And this grant program of Hrant Dink Foundation came along. So that was a wonderful experience for me. So in a way, it supported my personal process that I was going through. And I had the chance to closely monitor the projects and the entire process. So first of all, I would like to share some observations regarding how the process went along. I believe the process was a very open and transparent and objective one. It was extremely based on friendship and solidarity, and there were many principles people abided by. I had the chance to observe every single phase of the project, and I can because we're going through a very confusing period whereby the entire world is in a way working in a closed manner, not very open manner, and the new world order that we long for is going to be created by us with these nice examples that we are creating. And these will be the principles: openness, transparency, solidarity, friendship, a principled stance. I have had the chance to see all these things coming into life during this project. Hrant Dink Foundation and colleagues from the foundation, I would like to congratulate you. You've done a great job. I have seen very closely that you went through many challenges. Some of the CSOs were, of course, more experienced. Things were easier working with them, but some colleagues, maybe it was for the first time they engaged in activities on rights-based initiatives. They had the chance to learn from you. The first information they had, that was the first time they got empowered thanks to you.
Ama pandemiden de olumsuz etkilenmediler. sivil toplum kuruluşunun bu gücü, bu yaratıcılığı, en zor zamanlarda bile yeni yöntemler bulma çabası, o da aynı
in the hardest times is also very promising, and it gives me hope. Well, during even the darkest, I'm very optimistic even in the darkest days, but they don't know where I get my power from, because I get my power from women. They change, they get empowered, they become aware, they make efforts to become equal individuals in the society, and they're raising their kids in a totally different manner nowadays. So I'm really very optimistic and full of hope for the future. We have a lot of reasons to be optimistic. And now I also have the CSOs giving me hope, along with women, because they've done wonderful activities with openness, transparency, solidarity. And despite the pandemic, they created new methods. Everything was wonderful. And I would like to thank everyone who labored for this process, made efforts for this process. If I was a member of the Hrant Dink Foundation, if I had the chance to impact people, let's say, I would actually consider repeating this project, coming up with a follow-up project. And I would like to greet you all with love and respect. Thank you. Thank you for your kind words and for giving us hope as well for this wonderful opening speech this morning. Now, I would like to share some general information about our event. Every organization will be delivering a presentation within the 7 minutes allocated to them. And after each session, we will be receiving your questions. Now, I would like to give the floor to the CSOs who work in the field. Question for you as well. Please write your answers in the chat box. What could be these sites or locations that could be converted into sites of memory, or where we can carry out memorialization activities? So let's start with the first session. We have Dilan Kaya with us from the Diyarbakır Association for the Protection of Cultural and Natural Assets. Hello, everyone. Can you see my slides, by the way? I'm not able to see it. Okay. So it's very valuable for me to be together with you in this event. My name is Dilan from the Diyarbakır Association for the Protection of Cultural Natural Assets, and I'm the coordinator of our project carried out in the Diyarbakır Sur neighborhood. Let's talk about our association. The group of urban volunteers established this organization to carry out different projects in the field of documenting and identifying different cultural assets in Diyarbakır. And Diyarbakır/Sur, a journey of memory project, came along in the aftermath of this conflict that we had in Sur neighborhood in Diyarbakır. It created devastating impacts. And after that, we had the forced migration and the urban regeneration project that was activated. And it was in a way, and it became in a way an irreversible process. So this cultural heritage, we said we needed to document, identify and document them. Also aimed at making a peace. So we had social memory and sites of memory seminar we organized. So we have a book, and we also shared the experience of Hrant Dink Site of Memory, 23.5 Site of Memory. And we shared information about memorialization processes and experiences. Archaeologists, architects, many people participated in, and possible sites of memory were identified in Diyarbakır. And we also had this oral history activity in Diyarbakır, Istanbul, Ankara, Adana, in 4 different cities. 26 people participated in this activity. And religious, social, cultural, different backgrounds were identified, and we wanted to come up with these witnesses and testimonies of people that bore witness to different things in the city. And we are actually aiming to share light to our social memory thanks to these recordings. We had shootings of 4 or 5 hours, and the map, book, and the oral history video were created thanks to the output of these interviews. These videos will be accessible soon on our website and on our YouTube channel. Another main activity of the project was the social memory workshops through human rights perspective. So we wanted to create a space for advocacy, and we believe that cities are important. Use of cities and urban areas are very important. That was the motivation we had. This workshop planned as a 2-day workshop. We're going to talk about content and theoretical discussions. And on day 2, we would be out in the field walking in Sur neighborhood. But because of COVID-19, of course, we had to carry out the workshops on an online platform, and we had to cancel the memory walks. And this had a negative and positive implications in a way. Of course, as it was an online workshop, the impact and participation we aimed for was not reached. But we had participants coming from different cities and different countries which enriched the discussion. So 105 people in total participated in 8 group works. And with the conflict that started in 2015, we had this distraction that continued with urban regeneration activities. So this became an irreversible process. And this was an area that we prioritized based on our negative experience. So for 7 months, we worked on this map, as you see on the screen. We have the Dicle Valley, the walls of Diyarbakir and the restoration work, the inner citadel, the national park. Everything was photographed, cataloged, and added to the archive work that was already carried out by the association. So inside the walls is declared as a UNESCO Cultural Heritage Site, as we know. And thanks to this effort, we were able to document these sites, and we wanted to make a contribution to their preservation, of course. For 16 months, we've done so many activities, and all the accumulated information and documents were gathered under our main work, which was an infographic map and book. Of course, it's not easy to limit all this information in one single book. So for thousands of years, there was uninterrupted life in Diyarbakir, and inside the citadel, inside the walls, we have had civilizations since the antiquity. So we wanted to make visible certain locations and sites. These unknown, changing, transforming Diyarbakir sites were revealed in a way. And as you can see in this picture, from north to south, from one entrance gate to another, we had the routes, and you will have access to all this information in 3 languages, Turkish, English, and Kurdish. And all these monuments that are still there and that are no longer there are included in this map, and the book will give you more detailed stories about these monuments and sites. Of course, it's not possible to give a full story of a city, but to the extent possible, we were able to, we tried to gather all the information that we could, and this was the beginning of a long term effort for us. So as we were ending the activities of the project, we also had the archive work that was going on. So all the written, visual, and oral documents and recordings are kept in the Diyarbakir Archive Portal project that we carried out with Anadolu Kültür. And we have a digital archive, and the materials included in the archive were used to revitalize memory and disseminate it. So we also have a website whereby we publish all this content. So at certain periods, we add this information to our website, diyarbakir.org. So these are small snapshots from the exhibitions, which are also carried out in 3 languages, Turkish, English, Kurdish. So for the last year, our public sphere has become these screens, as we know, these online platforms. So it's not the same, but I would like to thank you for your attention. And it's very difficult to talk about these projects in 20 minutes, but there is huge effort behind the scenes by a great team. So this presentation was an opportunity to get to know each other. You can visit our website or follow our social media accounts or reach out to us through our email address. Thank you. We would like to thank Dilan a lot. That was a very good opening presentation. Now, I would like to give the floor to Emrah Polat from Social Research and Original Thinking Association to share their presented projects.
Hello, this is Emrah. I am from Kars. I would like to welcome you all. To start with, I would like to thank the foundation, Hrant Dink Foundation, and all the colleagues who work there. This was great support. We were established in 2017. This is a human rights centered project we are working on as a team in our association. Let me introduce a little bit our project. This is based on dialogue, mutual understanding, coexistence, fighting against discrimination, awareness raising, monitoring and evaluation, documentation. Our project involves these activities. We support differences, pluralism, and equality. And our project is around those themes. We are working on the lost cultural elements in Kars. There are 4 pillars. We carried it out in 4 countries: Turkey, Armenia, Russia, and Georgia. These are the 4 pillars. As to the Armenian pillar, it's very well completed. In Russia, we spent 1 week. We have 1 more week, but because of the pandemic, the Georgian pillar hasn't been completed. I will give you further details about the activities we conducted abroad. Now, the geographic location of Kars is very strategic when you think of its neighbors, very rich in cultures, traditions. We went ahead and carried out field work. We documented what we found out in the field. We talked with opinion leaders, members of academia, researchers. We worked together with these actors. We documented the results. We took pictures. And we've come to a very interesting conclusion. We decided to produce a book about urban culture, which was very much needed. We understood there is this common culture, coexistence culture, Alawis, Kurds, Armenians, Turks, Jafaris, and Estonians, and so on. People lived together. There was a very rich diversity in this culture. Peaceful living was prominent in this culture. And we learned a lot. One other thing we learned was that we are very rich in terms of cultural heritage. We have bridges, churches, and houses and buildings. However, unfortunately, they're not taken well care of, and we have to work hard on them to make sure they're a part of tourism and cultural activities. I wanted that to be taken note of. As to the activities conducted abroad, what we have done is the following. We talked with various authors, members of academia, researchers, We conducted research about those actors. Ranyush Horantian was one of the interviewees who was kind enough to accept us. And one other prominent figure, I'm trying to find a name. It's here. Thank you. Ripsime Simonian, very famous artist who has important sculptures and other pieces of art outdoors, very good pieces. This is also unique to Kars in Armenia, Georgia, in Russia, and elsewhere. These cultural values are transferred to different locations thanks to these opportunities, thanks to these artists. And we also carried out a biography work, turned all this into a book, a very high-level academic book we produced based on our experience abroad. This is all about the culture in Kars, art in Kars. And authors, researchers, and members of academia contributed and were with us in an international symposium. This was the highlight, I could say, of our work. And I should say it was very productive, the international symposium, I mean. And we want to make sure this is a part of the memory of the coming generations. This was a starting point for us to produce a documentary film. So that's what we did. We produced a documentary. We had interviews. This is mainly about the culture of coexistence and living together. We had wonderful examples. You can find out more about these examples on our webpage. We produced 1 minute long video clips, more than 300,000 views we had on the video clips. They're also available on our social media accounts. And as a result, we contacted more than 60 media outlets internationally, and we had a chance to get international coverage in the media. You can see some examples on the screen right now. We follow the traces of coexistence culture in Kars, and we carried this from local to international level, from the remote villages of Kars to the rest of the world. This was an incredible opportunity that was given to us by the foundation and the EU. Thank you very much. Emrah Bey, thank you very much for this wonderful presentation. Now, this brings us to the last presentation. So I would like to turn to Emel Benbasat from the Quincentennial Foundation Museum of Turkish Jews. This will be the last presentation of this session. Hello. Good morning. Welcome to the session organized by Hrant Dink Foundation. And in this presentation, we would like to share with you what we have done. And I'm Nisa Ishman Alovi. Emel will be joining me in this presentation. As to our goal, abroad and domestically, we would like to ensure sustainability and promotion of our culture. And thus, we introduced this project called What Our Jewish Past Taught Us. We have carried out 50 interviews within the scope of our oral history project, research project. Mostly these people are plus 50 years. These people tell us about their childhood. During those years, they fled the location. We're trying to build a memory, an urban memory, and we would like to transfer the cultural diversity to the next generations. For the interviews, mostly we visited the interviewees in their own place as their preference, based on their preference. At first, interviewees were hesitant and a little bit anxious to appear before a camera. Then they felt more comfortable. They even forgot the existence of the camera, and they started telling us about their childhood memories. And before the camera was on, they prepared themselves. They felt enthusiastic and excited. This was a secret shooting, but we thought it's okay to share this with you because people took this seriously. The way they wear, the way they look, they took it so seriously, and they were so happy to share with us their past. With the start of the pandemic, we had to have a pause. And then we resumed our works in outdoor places, and we paid attention to hygiene rules. Because of the pandemic, we couldn't visit some places. But thanks to maybe technology, we contacted people from Israel, Jews from Israel. They told us a lot about their childhood memories. We used Zoom platform to connect with them. This was also the case in Turkey. We used this technology to talk to interviewees. We had audio-visual recordings over Zoom during the interviews. And some of the interviewees were so busy, and they took a short break to connect with us and tell us about their story. And we went to some historic sites to talk to some of the interviewees. These people really own the place. They feel an ownership in this historic site. And we saw that they're making great effort to revive the memory. All the interviews have been recorded, pictures taken, and all was documented upon the consent of the interviewee. It was very impressive. It was like a journey to the past. Sometimes we shed a little tear, sometimes we burst into laughter. And they told us they lived in very large spaces when they were a child, but taking an old picture, they figured it was not such a large space, actually. It was just their childhood impression. This was an important common element among different interviewees. They showed us their old pictures, and this reanimated their memories. They told us more and more stories about their childhood, about the culture. This also shows us how life changes. It's not just the urban life that changes, the lifestyles have changed as well. The way we wear, for example, even going to a small store, for that, people used to pay great attention to their outfit. So while listening to these stories, we were smiling actually. So they were so smart in terms of the way they dress. This picture is from Adana. You see how they wear fedora hats, smart clothes. The transformation taking place in our city is one thing, but this transformation took place in other places too. For example, this picture is from Hatay. Transportation used to be so different. Well, let's take a look at this picture. We produced a digital archive thanks to the pictures shared with us by the interviewees. This digital archive work is still ongoing. We collect documents from different cities, and this increases the cultural diversity that we can document. Let's take a look at this picture. This is the 13th year ceremony, entrance to adolescence. Grandfathers were so excited to tell us about their memories because the adolescence today is quite different. Now the ceremonies are very different than what they were in the past. Let's take a look at this picture. A woman and a baby and the family members. And you see the special cloth hung on the wall. You see the identity here. This is another valuable picture. Traditions, cultural interactions, neighborhood, marriage, and giving birth, and their reflections on the daily life. These were depicted by all these valuable pictures. We were able to trace this story thanks to these. We also looked at the business life, business people, and the tradesmen, craftsmen in the Jewish society. We found out about an almost extinct profession. This profession is about a skill to fix and glue broken glass plates that women use in their kitchens. Well, each interview was so rich. We learned a lot. We heard different stories, and this was great in terms of increasing cultural diversity. Thank you very much for your attention.